Thank you, Senator Dalphond. I took part in the Bill S-5 technical briefing that the government held last week, and there were a few questions that I asked at that technical briefing which were not answered there by the government, so I'll pose these questions to you. First of all, why is the government introducing Bill S-5 in the Senate?
Senator Dalphond.
So I understand it's the first questions of a line of questions. Thank you. Quite frankly, I think that for respect for the process, which is designed to be apolitical, I think that the government decided to have the bill introduced in the Senate, where the process is less political than the House of Commons, and subject also to people that have more time to look at the important foundational principles that are at stake here.
Senator Batters.
Thank you. Is it problematic with that in mind that a Senate-initiated bill purports to spend public money in providing in this bill for publicly funded lawyers for judges who are facing disciplinary and removal proceedings?
Senator Dalphond.
So if I understand properly, is it a problem that the budgetary expense is introduced in the Senate? So it's a good question, but this is a government bill, so it comes with the Governor General's warrant. So it's not coming as a private, but a Senate public bill initiated by a senator, of course, which does not benefit from the royal recommendation. So this is coming from the government and being introduced with the proper allocation of money, and that will be followed by an appropriations in the next budget.
Thank you. Yes, just on that point, that was the same sort of thing with Bill S-4, which we recently had, which S-4 was also a government bill, of course, and there was a special appropriations part dealing with that in the bill, I believe. Also, Senator Dalphond, at that government technical briefing last week, so this was for a government bill conducted on a government telephone conference call line. There was no translation available on that lengthy technical briefing. And that's, I'm sure you would agree, this is unacceptable for a government bill's technical briefing for parliamentarians. I attended a government technical briefing about 5 years ago where there was a significant translation problem, and the entire briefing was put on hold until it could be fixed. So, Senator Dalphond, why wasn't translation available at that government technical briefing last week?
It's another good question, but fortunately I was part of the planning. It was not expected. The translation was to be provided. It's only a few minutes, and as you will remember, we started that meeting 10 minutes late. Maybe 12 minutes. So there was really a problem there. I acknowledge it. And fortunately, what we've done, and it was a bit laborious to a certain extent, so you will have all the presentations. I did my small bit at the beginning in French and then in English, and all justice officials did the presentations with using the PowerPoint both in French and then repeating it in English. So that was translation, but not simultaneous translation. It was kind of consecutive translation. And if we were in a criminal trial, that I could say could be a problem. There's judgments about that. It should be that simultaneous translations or consecutive translation. But we did as much as we could do to make sure that both presentations were made in both official languages using both PowerPoints.
Yes, certainly valiant efforts were made by the officials that were there. I just bring that to your attention and to Senator Gould's attention that is not acceptable and hopefully never happens again. My last question is, Section 140 of this Act provides that the Minister of Justice must respond publicly to a report of a full hearing panel dealing with a judge's removal. Why didn't the government include a deadline for the minister to publicly respond? This Act its aim is to provide greater transparency, and as we've often seen, the federal government has frequently been tardy, where timeliness and transparency can be a very important matter. So why no deadline for the minister to respond?
Senator Dalphond.
Thank you for the question. First, to complete the previous question, I will add something. I suggested that, and I make it this very politely, and it's a number of suggestions to the government representative, but maybe we should try to have also virtual presentations for these technical briefings instead of a phone call. I think that would be good to see the people also. I think we have all these committee meetings being held virtually. I don't understand why the briefings are not virtual, but I know there must be technical reasons for it. To come back to your questions, so once the public hearing is completed, the recommendations, if it is recommendations to remove, then the process can go to the ministers, and the minister will still have the decisions to make. Does he follow that proposal or report? Yes, if he agrees with the report, he will have to go to cabinet, I guess, first, and then to both houses. So, but in the meantime, once the report is public, the judge or the prosecutor, well, most likely it won't be the prosecutor, because it has been suggested that the judge be removed. The lawyer acting as prosecutor will have completed its mandate. But the judge might decide that, well, it's worth going in appeal. So the appeal process, which I've described within the whole structure, will be there. So the report will be sent to the minister, but the minister cannot act until he receives the report, the decisions from the internal appeal process. So it's difficult to know in advance how many weeks or days or months it will take for the new appeal process built into the structure to be exhausted.
Senator Batters?
Except the part of that is the deadline starts when the minister receives it and everything is complete for the minister to be able to respond. So what I was asking is, why isn't there a deadline for the minister to respond once all of that process is complete?
Senator Delphine?
I don't have the bill. I have it here. I can find but there's a specific delay for the judge to appeal the decision of the hearing panels to propose that it be removed from office. And so we have to wait until that period is exhausted to find out if the judge decided to avail herself or himself of the appeal process. And then the minister will not comment until the appeal process is exhausted. So it's difficult for I think it's been designed according to the, I understand your question, and I see you read the bill very well, and I'm happy to see that you be the critics because you know very well the matter, and that you already have done a lot of work. And I think it's been designed to have flexibility because they couldn't figure out how much time it will take to complete that process, but certainly it's going to take years less than the current process.